Hello, friends. I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. We're back with the next section of my top 50 favorite games of all time. As you saw in the title or the thumbnail, we are looking at games 30 to 11 this week. So if you want to see my 50 to 31, you're going to have to look at last week's video. In that video, I also explained kind of the process that got us to this point. So I'm going to skip all that and say, let's get right down to it. Let's look at my number 30. My number 30 was number 15 last year, so it fell 15 places, and this is from lack of playing. I have not tabled this game in a while, and I know there's a cool little solo campaign expansion that I really need to get my hands on so I can get this back to the table with a vengeance. You also saw in my last video, I talked about two games that are also oftentimes compared to this one. That is Dune Imperium and the Endless Winter. These all get lumped together in comparison because they got those aspects of worker placement, deck building, and a bunch of managing of various things based on cards and workers. And this one is Lost Ruins of Arnak. Don't think I said that yet. And Lost Ruins of Arnak, therefore, is my favorite of those three similar games at number 30. I just really like this one. I like managing up the archaeological track and going out and fighting the monsters if you got the right resources, and you can only go out so far based on the cards you have in your hand. So you got to make sure you're getting the right cards you want to be able to take those actions later. If you want to really explore down, you got to make sure you got those plane icons and things like that to be able to travel further, because otherwise you got to just kind of stick to the bottom, the walkable actions with your workers. So it's a neat little theme. It makes a lot of sense when you're playing it. It's got the Indiana Jones kind of vibe to it, and I like that more than Dune, which I never even got into ever. I don't even really know what it's about. Some desert planet or whatever. And Endless Winter Paleo Americans is fine theme-wise, but I like Lost Ruins better for theme and for action, which is why it's my number 30. Needs to get played again so I can start climbing back up the list. Speaking of game that climbed up the list, this one barely was in my top 100 last year. Boone Lake. I played it when I first got it, enjoyed it enough, but then kind of forgot about it. But last year I put it on my challenge that I did with Allie, the family meeple. We both owned this game and agreed to play Boone Lake solo with the expansion stuff. And so it forced me to table it again and play it 5 times solo. And I'm glad I did, because I really like this game. It's an Alexander Pfister game, which means it's kind of a little bit of a race game, because as you're going down, in this case, the river, you're pushing the end game as you're doing it. And your actions, the better actions you get, the further you're going to get pushed down the river. Well, maybe not the better the action, but the more valuable the action, the more down the river you're going to get pushed, which gives you those options. And like Great Western Trail, you're just kind of cycling that aspect of it, that race aspect. But with Boone Lake, you're also building up Boone Lake, the cities, the towns on the map with, your tiles. You're taking actions to get those tiles and place them on the board, and then activate, put your buildings on them and score points and get resources and cows. Lots of cows in this game give you points. And I don't know, a Boone Lake, just a lot of fun, a lot of interesting management of action card, because every turn you're going to play a card and hopefully add it to your tableau, because if you can't play a card, then you don't get it in your tableau, and then you're probably missing out on points and opportunities later. And then the card you play is going to dictate which of the action tiles is available to you based on whether it's a daytime, dawn, or daytime, sunset, and night card, or whatever. Whichever style card it is, basically dictates which of the action tiles you're even allowed to take. And then it's got the lead follow aspect. When you're playing with other players, whoever takes the action tile will do whatever the action is. But then everybody usually, but some of them, the person who took the tile can't even do the follow on action. But everybody will be able to follow on and take a different version of that action from that tile too. And then it'll cycle back to the bottom and make it not as valuable. A lot of good things in Boon Lake, and that's why it moved up to my number 29. My 28 is new to the list, even though it's not really. It was on one of my older lists and then fell off last year, and now it's back, probably because I played it again. But this is a Stefan Feld game. I think it's the first Stefan Feld game I've mentioned on this list, which is strange because he's my favorite designer. But I like him enough that he's going to show up a lot more from 28 to 1 than from 50 to 28, I guess. But Amsterdam is one of the Stefan Feld Queen City Collection combos. I think it re-implemented something. I'll maybe put a note about what it re-implemented. But in this game, you're going out and you're using action tiles. They're going to be 1 to 6 turns away based on the draft phase. So you can put, there's colored dice you're rolling, and you draft 2 or 3 of them each round. And the number and the color dictate which color cubes and how many of them you're going to put, but also which slot. So if I take like the orange 6, I'm going to get 6 orange cubes, but I'm not going to get them for 6 turns. So I'm putting 6 orange cubes 6 turns from now. And then maybe I'll take one black cube and put in, 1 turn away, which is now basically, because once all the cubes are drafted, then you're going to turn the dial and get whatever was waiting in that section of the dial. And then you're going to use those cubes to take actions. And some actions require just 1 cube of a certain color or of any color, and to take that action. Other ones are going to take 2 cubes or 3 cubes or more. As you're building up, you're taking ownership of the different plots of Amsterdam as part of it, or you're pushing your ship around and trading goods that you've collected from your different actions. It's just one of those point salady, lots going on, and it's all managed by this turnstile of cubes that are coming around. The colors of the cubes matter. The number of the cubes you have dictate basically how strong of a round you're going to have, and doing all kinds of things. And I think it's a neat little concept of cube management and setting yourself up for future turns. And every round you've got to draft 1 card into your city. And for each city card you can't complete at the end of the game, you're actually going to lose points. And all those cards require certain colors and combos of cubes. But when you build those cards into your city, they're going to give you benefits or in-game scoring or whatever. So they could give you one-time actions that you activate during the action phase, or they're going to give you in-game scoring, or they're going to allow you to do something slightly different than everybody else. So it's a really neat little concept of managing cards, managing cubes, and setting your turns up for the future. And that is Amsterdam, my number 28. My number 27 was number 26 last year, and probably was in the same ballpark every year I've had it on the list. It is one of my favorite cooperative games, and it plays 6 people, I think, or you can play solo with 6 characters on the board. But this is Subterra, a game where basically you're a group of explorers who are lost in a cave system, and you're flipping tiles out on your turns and building that cave system up and dodging all the bad things that are happening, because you don't want to die off, but you can heal each other up. And you're trying to find the exit. And the exit's going to be one of the last 6 last 6 tiles in the stack. So you really got to get going with searching through the cave systems, which you can run in dead ends, and bad things are chasing you down, and bad things are happening to you. You're getting cave ins you got to deal with, and all kinds of things. Just a lot of fun. Everybody I've ever played this with has really enjoyed it. Subterra, I think it's a very unique, cooperative, very, very thematic game, because you feel like you're trapped in a cave when you're playing it, trying to just find your way out, stumbling around. My number 26 is new to the list and cheat. I'm saying the Great Western Trail game series. I like Great Western Trail. I like Great Western Trail Argentina. I've heard that the New Zealand one is actually everybody's favorite, and I haven't even played that one. And now they just put out the I think it's just a 2-player version, El Paso. Haven't played that one either. But I'm just going to lump them all together. You know why? Because I talked about in my BGG look at those games, how I hate when it's the same game, basically, and it's counted in 3 different spots. So I'm not going to do that on my list. That would be hypocritical of me. The Great Western Trail series of games, they all play pretty similar. You're collecting cattle or sheep or whatever. You're working your way up the board. You're building buildings on the board. Every building you come across as you're traveling the board. Gives you potential actions, or you owe your opponents points for passing through, well, money, I think, for passing through their buildings. You got neutral buildings, you've got hazards that are coming out, and the more of those you cross, the more you're going to lose money along the way. And then when we get to the end, the train depot usually, or ship depot, or whatever it is that's where you're going to turn in whatever cattle cards you have in your hand, or sheep cards, or pig cards, I don't know, your cards in hand, and they're different values. So if you buy better ones of those, you're going to get higher value, and the value of different ones you turn in. So you can't turn like 4 the same, level 5 cow. You've actually want 3 different level 5 cows to count as 3 different level 5 cows. But you're going to add those together, and that's how much money you're going to earn for shipping them off. And money is good because you're going to want that to do your actions in the next round. But also that dictates how far out you can ship them, and the ports further away are more valuable. They're going to give you more points at the end of the game, and they might even give you special bonuses. And every time you claim a port, you're actually unlocking some action on your player board, and that's building your engine, so to speak. As things come off your board, you're going to be able to move further, or hold an extra card in hand, or whatever the case is, depending on what you decide to unlock each time you get to unlock something. And usually you're only unlocking when you get to the end of the board. So like I mentioned just a little bit ago with Boon Lake, it's kind of a race. You want to keep pushing to the end so that way you can keep turning in the cows for the points and unlocking those actions, so you can do it more and more and better as the game goes on. But every time you go to the end, you're actually driving the end of the game too, because you're putting new of those helpers out, the workers that you can buy out on the board. And as they press down, they're going to push the game tracker basically down. And once that goes off the board, the game ends and you go score it. So the Great Western Trail series of games, I own Argentina, so I guess that's my favorite. I've played the original one on Board Game Arena, and once in real life when I borrowed it from the library, and that one's fun too. I really want to play New Zealand and El Paso. Haven't yet, but one lump sum of the Great Western Trail board games, my second fister in these last 5 games. Speaking of repeat of people, games, designers, whatever you want to call it, my number 25 as we approach the over-the-hill portion of the list, the last 25, was number 37 last year. So it's risen 12 spots, and I really like this one. It's a Garphill Games game, Architects of the West Kingdom, and you're probably going to see at least one more Garphill game as we approach the end of this list, as a spoiler alert. But Architects of the West Kingdom, I find very welcoming. It makes sense. You're getting architects. You're sending workers out to collect wood and stone and clay and all the things you need to build the building cards that you've got in hand. Or you're sending workers out to build those cards, or collect more cards, or more card helpers that are actually going to be laid out in front of you separate from your workers, but they're going to boost some abilities. Or you're just going to collect money and help build, or help build the is it a cathedral? I think it's a cathedral. You're not building your own thing. You're going to build the cathedral. And if you've got the Wonders expansion, you might be building Wonders out there. And it's just a pretty standard worker placement, except that the more workers you put on a spot, the more beneficial that's going to be. And that's not uncommon in worker placement games either. The one uncommon thing is, in this game, there's one place where you can send workers and actually go round up everybody's workers from a location, or one other opponent's workers from a location. So that guy that's been sending 5, 6 workers out to collect wood, I'm just going to round up all those workers, and now I've got them in captivity. And if I take them to jail, I actually benefit from turning them in. Or I can just keep them in my captivity until they spend a worker to come release them from me. And then I still will get some benefit. I don't remember what it is exactly, but some benefit for, them being released. And that's a neat little twist. So you got the theme of collecting resources and building up your buildings, your architecting, and that's what's going to drive the game for everybody. Is every time somebody builds something, it helps drive the game end. But you can also build the cathedral, or you can go out and just round up other people's workers. A lot of fun. Architects of the West Kingdom. My number 24 game was number 12 last year, and this one has anti-benefited from lack of play. It's a harder one to get to the table. It plays, I think, 2 to 5 technically, but definitely way better with more. I don't know if 5's the best, but I would say 3 or 4 for sure. It is Trois. I always mispronounce it. It's been on my list for a while, and I never know how to say it. Trois. It's a fun little dice drafting manipulation game. Everybody's going to roll their dice that they have based on the buildings they've claimed, basically. And then those dice are going to go into the central pool. And they're not necessarily your dice. But there are 3 different colors. I think there might be a 4th different color. And the color kind of dictate what action they're going to do. And then the summation of that dictates that action capability as well. So I could take 1 yellow dice with a 2 on it and do something yellow with a value of 2, usually money related for the yellow dice. Or I could take the yellow 2 and the yellow 5 and have a value 7, and then maybe I get a little bit more or a little bit different, because they're kind of cards that are laid out, 3 of each color as the game goes on, that are going to dictate, what the actions are. And my dice are free, but I could take dice from somebody else. And then depending on how many of those dice I take from somebody else, I've got to pay them. So you're managing the money because maybe you're just going to buy all the white dice. Every time it's your turn, you're just going to get as many white dice as you can because you really want to do the white actions, which means you need to have the money to do that. And at the same time, somebody's going to be maybe buying your dice that you thought you were going to use. Maybe I thought I had my red 5, but it wasn't my turn yet. And now I've got 3 coins or whatever for Joe taking my red 5, and now I've got to readjust, or maybe I've got to buy, the red 3 from somebody else, or whatever the case is. So it's a neat little twist of a game for dice drafting and action usage, and that is Trois. My number 23 is the second, not really cheats, but cheats of the list, and this one's been kind of all over the place, depending on how I rate them. It is the basic Pandemic series of games, and including in this the legacy games, because at this point I like the legacy ones better. But I don't want to make 4 different guesstimates for which Pandemic is where, or what to include and whatnot. So Pandemic, the series of Pandemic, just standard Pandemic, because if you watch the last video you saw, there was a different Pandemic game on the list already, but it's not one of the basic Pandemic or legacy games. But Pandemic got me in the hobby. It's a game, at this point, if you're watching a hobby video from little me with my 400 subscribers, you know what Pandemic is. I'm not going to explain it. I really enjoy the legacies. I played through Legacy 1 twice, Legacy 2 twice, and Legacy 0 once. So I guess I'm due for another playthrough of that. But I just really enjoy Pandemic. It helped bring me in the hobby. Such a good game. My number 22 was number 20 last year, so just hovering right now. And it's Race for the Galaxy. And I just really enjoy this game because it's one of those cards are everything game. That's all it is. It's a stack of cards and some point tokens. And you're just racing to build up your galaxy, because the first one to get 12 or 16, I think, I forget, planets cards down into their tableau, the game ends, or when all the point tokens are taken, the game ends. And each card's going to have different abilities at different phases. There are 5 phases in the game, and the cool thing about this game is everybody who's playing is going to pick one phase that they for sure want to do and get a bonus for doing it. The trick is you're only going to do the phases that are shown. So if everybody picks the same phase, that's the only phase that's happening that round. But if everybody picks a different phase, you're going to do each of those phases in phase order. And those phases, the first 2 are basically put round planets out or put square planets out or triangle, whatever it is. And that's pretty much it. And you pay for the planets by discarding cards. Discarding future planets are just gone in order to pay for this one I really want to get out. Or by whatever's in your tableau already, you can get discounts. So maybe I've got a discount of 2 on the round planets from what I've already got on my tableau. So now this planet would cost me 3 cards from my hand. I play it out and only cost me 1 card. And I just like that aspect of it, that your cards are your currency. And it's a lot of fun. And this game isn't that complex. Once you grasp what each of the 5 phases do and the little bit of iconography that goes with it, it can play pretty smooth and pretty quick. And so while it's got a little bit of a learning curve to kind of figure out the best path for it. It plays quick enough that you can do one of those training games and then follow it up with the actual game, and that is Race for the Galaxy. 21, to reach that halfway point of this list, is another deck building game. This one rose 6 spots from number 27, and it is Clank. The original Clank. I played Clank Space. I didn't like Clank in Space as much. What I do want to get my hands on is the new Clank with which ones are called? Catacombs? Where you're actually building the board as you play. That one intrigues me a lot. Looking forward to giving that one a try. And Acquisitions Incorporated, the legacy game. I would look forward to giving that one a play too. But Clank, a little push your luck deck building game as you're diving deeper into the dungeon and trying to stay quiet. Don't create too much clank and wake the dragon that could come out and kill you before you get out. But you do want to get out or get down and get all those artifacts, that one big artifact and maybe a couple monkey idols along the way, and then get back out and be the first one to get out, so you get bonus points for getting out and kind of force the action on everybody else. So Clank, just so much fun, I think, as the gist of it. Deck building fun, push your luck fun, and then of course every time the dragon stirs, what are we pulling out? Who's getting hurt this time, or are we all safe? Always had a good time with Clank. And now we've reached the top 20. So we're finally getting to some good games, maybe. At number 20, this game has fallen quite a bit. It's been in my top 10 for a long time. It was number 7 last year. But I don't know. I've maybe soured on it a little bit now that I've played it a lot and have a lot of it, and just released a new expansion that I have almost no interest in, and nobody's convinced me that I should have interest in it. But anyway, this is Viticulture, specifically the Essential Edition, the one that used to have everything until the last couple weeks or so. Viticulture is a worker placement wine making game. I've talked about one of these already in this top 50 with Vinos, and this one is the more friendly version of that. But I like it. It's a lot of fun placing the workers, making the wine. It's got a little bit of a learning curve to it, and how you managing the workers, because you need to make sure that you've got the right grapes, the right vines in your vineyard. It's got a little bit of meta game, and maybe that got fixed in the update. I don't know. But pretty much, you kind of got to know that you're going to sell one of your farmlands probably on your first turn just to get money that you need to do other things, because you're going to need to build structures usually to age your grapes and wines enough to get to the valuable wine cards that you're turning in for the points. Although you don't need to, you could use guests in the right way, but the stacks are so big, it's unpredictable, and that's one of the biggest gripes is the stacks of cards that are all so random that you may never see a white grape for 3 rounds, and all your wine cards require white wines, and so not having white grapes really doesn't help you out. But I still enjoy it. It's a pretty relaxing worker placement game that it's a lot of fun. I like the grande worker, that you're never fully blocked out of an action that you need to do, because as long as you've got the grande worker, you can always guarantee yourself one action, even if all the action spots are taken. So that's a nice change. I wish more worker placement games would adapt something like that too. But that's Viticulture, my number 20. At number 19, moved the same amount of 13 places. It was number 6 last year. So these two moved in tandem out of the top 10 and barely hanging on the top 20. And this one's just for lack of play. I haven't played Russian Railroads in probably 3 or 4 years now. It's another one of these tight worker placement games where you're placing workers out to push your railroad lines, and you have 3 or 4 different engine types, train types on your 3 lines, and you can't move the ones behind. They can't jump each other. So you got to move the first ones out before you can move the second ones and the third ones. And they're more valuable. And the top line basically is just going to score your points based on what you have where. And as you cross certain thresholds, you're going to unlock different things that are going to help you out too later. There's also the industry track, so you can almost ignore the train track and just play straight industry game by adding industry tiles. And you're buying train engines to help push you further, because you can only go as far on any track as your engine. So you need to upgrade those. And as you upgrade those, you're actually going to move them down into your industry as you replace them. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of really tight worker placement management. And in this game, coins can help you buy conductors, but also they can be used as a free worker. So if you've got a little stack of coins, you've always got another worker. And you can buy, those conductors become worker spots for just you and no one else. So you might want to make sure you're getting the ones you need to do the game that you're trying to do. But Russian Railroads, it's been one of my favorites ever since I first played it. I now own Ultimate Railroads, so I've got the everything that's ever been made, all the expansions and everything, but I haven't broke into it yet. Like, it's been years since I've got this one to the table. I definitely need to table it, especially now that I've got the official solo mode in that box. I don't know what's holding me back. Number 18 was number 11 last year, so another one that's fallen a little bit, and this one I like, and I played it relatively recently, but some of my initial love for it has worn off. Not it's number 17. I'm not going to pretend like it's a bad game. I enjoyed Jiangnan Life of Gentry quite a bit. It's another one of those a little bit of everything game, and it's action selection. You're going to have 4 action discs that you're pulling out of your bag and putting them on your board. And then you're going to play one and discard whichever one is the furthest to the right that's left. And you're going to get the resources from discarding it. So you kind of want to manage what you've got available in your actions. If you want to take certain actions, there's 6 action slots, I think. And you can get to the point where you've discarded a whole action out of the game. And then at the end of the round, you're going to draft new action tiles. So you got to kind of remember, like, do I have, if I want to go on this trek, do I have any trek actions even available to me? Maybe I've discarded them all for resources. And so if I would need to trek, I'm hoping there's one, because not every card, every disc is going to be available every round. They're all random too. So you really want to keep an eye on, I really want to do this action, but if I discard, this is going to be my discard. Do I want that resource? Do I want to get rid of that specific action tile of actions? And if I do, I need to remember, is there another one I can replace it with during the draft at the end of the round? And then at the end of the round, also, there's area control on your boats. Wherever you place a worker, you're going to place one of your little mini, whatever they are, mini worker guys onto the boat. And whoever has the boat majority gets to dictate the scoring for the rounds. And then the boat's going to cycle back and get an in-game objective. And then whoever at the end of the game has majority in that boat will score that objective for the most points, and whoever has the second most on that boat will score that objective for the second most. So you're managing round scoring and in-game scoring and worker placement and resource management as you're building up your art. You're turning in art types, art colors to make the art, and as you make the art, that's going to help you get points and money and everything else too. It's just another one of those everything in the bag, everything in the box games, and nobody really talks about it. I don't even remember where I first heard about it. I'm glad I did. It's definitely one of my favorite games, Jiangnan Life of Gentry. My number 17 was number 22 last year. It's another Stefan Feld game, and this is one of his original designs for the City Collection. It is Marrakesh. And in Marrakesh, you're basically spinning around picking 3 colored keshis, as they're called, little octagon, hexagon tile things. And the 3 you pick are different colors, and they're going to correlate with different actions on your board. And then you're going to collect all of them from everybody without looking and drop them in the tower. And then whatever comes out, you're going to draft and add them to their section on your board. Can hold up to 8 or 12 each. I think it's just 8. And then once you fill up that one, every time you take the action, it's going to be a super powered version of that action. So you can try to collect all one color. You can divide and conquer and have lesser abilities of more actions, but you're always going to be able to take the action regardless. You just might not be able to take it as strongly. And then you do it again and again and again until all the tiles are gone. And you do it for 3 rounds and try to score. And it's just a point salad. It's hard to explain. I know I didn't do it justice, but basically you're going to pick actions, drop keshis in the tower, draft keshis, pop them in their spots on the board, and then take your actions based on the number of keshis there for that action, determines how powerful that action is. And you're just kind of racing to do different things, different points, and all that. My number 16 is Ezra and Nehemiah, and I said last year, I believe, that this was my favorite of Garfield games, but this list says otherwise, so spoiler alert. But Ezra and Nehemiah, I don't care about the theme. It's fine, it's what it is. What I like about this is its action cards. Again, as you play each round, you're going to choose one of your cards and put it down. And the cards have different color on them, values for the 3 different action types: blue, gray, or red. And so you choose one of those actions, and then you see how many of those you've got showing right now. There are 3 different action spots, and you're going to stack them each 2 high as the round goes on. So you're basically taking 6 turns each round. So the first one is whatever your first card is. Maybe it's like a 2 red. Then you're just going to do the red action at value 2. Or you could play like one that's got a 1/1/1 for each of the colors. I don't remember exactly the layout, but they're just colored banners. But the second one, then you could, play another. If I had the 1/1/1 the first time, I decided to take like the level 1 gray action. Maybe my next one has 3 gray. Now I got 4 grays showing. And then like my third one probably is going to take up the 3rd slot. But it could go on top of either the other 2 too and take the action at the value of whichever of, however many of that colors are showing. And what those actions are building up the walls, basically a clear away rubble and then build walls, and walls are going to give you points, and everything's kind of going to give you points. Or the red actions basically are you're giving alms to the poor, I think it is. Again, it's been a minute. It's hard to explain. And then the other action allows you to kind of work your way up a bonus tracker and unlock abilities and eventually in-game scoring bonuses. I think those are basically the 3 actions. But Ezra and Nehemiah, I just like it because it's got the action management. And every round you're going to kill off one of your cards too. So you're going to have less to work with as the game goes on. They're going to be permanent additions to your abilities as you do that. And round scoring too. Or maybe they're not permanent additions. Maybe I got that part wrong. But they're going to score depending on what they score for the round. So the sooner you get it, the more often you're going to score that card at the end of every round versus the one that you hold, till the end. I just like managing all those resources, all those actions, all those cards, a little bit of everything in a small box from Garfield Games. My number 15 is the first actually new game to the list, even though Great Western Trail, I think, might have kind of been newish to the list. This one really is new to the list. One of the 2 new to the list games for at least this segment, and I think for the whole list altogether. It is SETI. Search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Say that a bunch of times fast. This game is, again, you're managing your card actions and resources, and you're going out exploring to try to score points and do even better things. You're sending probes out and getting intelligence back, and then you're using that intelligence to find those new life forms. In every game, there's going to be 2 different intelligent lives that you're going to discover of the 5 or 6 that are in the base box. Plus, I'm sure there's expansions coming. And as you unlock those by doing enough exploration and discovery, they're going to change up kind of goal states. Not a whole lot, but they could change your focus. Like, oh, I really do want to focus on that alien life. Or maybe I don't care about that one as much, and I'll just keep playing the normal game and see what the other alien has to offer. But there is some variety to those. Some are pick up and deliver. Some are just going to give you boatloads of points at the expense of future points, or whatever the case is. I don't want to spoil anything. Just a lot of variety in the box with that really tight action card management that I always enjoy. So that is SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And my second and probably final, very new, absolutely 100% new to the list game, debuting at number 14, is a Stefan Feld game that just came out last year. And I absolutely love it. Need to get to the table again. It's been a while. It is Civolution. Was my number 1 most anticipated game last year. Lived with the hype. I just thoroughly enjoy it. It's point salad. It's dice actions. You're taking 2 dice and using their combo to dictate your action. And then you're discarding them and taking the action. And those actions are exploring the map, generating resources, building up your technology. You got a whole layout of technology cards that you're going to tuck that are going to do all kinds of different things for you. You're upgrading your abilities. So maybe you want to really focus on, exploring and something that goes along with exploring. I don't remember what it is right now, but basically you want to play just mostly on the map. So you're going to upgrade those actions, or maybe you just want to focus on the card drafting and adding cards to your board. And so you're going to upgrade those tiles to give more of those abilities. But you also need to feed your peoples and things like that. So you got to make sure you have food or ways to mitigate the need for food. Dice mitigation are options, all kinds of goodness. Again, there's an action for every dice combo from 1 and 2 to 5 and 6 and everything in between. And then doubles are their own special thing too. Civolution, just a great point salady, a little bit heavy Euro that I just really enjoy from my favorite designer. My number 13 has always kind of hovered around here. Last year it was 17, so up a little bit, which is weird because I haven't even played this one in a while. It is my number one favorite solo game of all time. Solo only game, that is. Maybe some of the other games have solo modes, but this is truly 100% solo only. And again, isn't even really my kind of game. It's random dice and a little bit of card play. It's Final Girl. But I love the theme. I love playing out my own little horror film based on my die rolls. Maybe I did really poorly and my girl's just dead meat from the start, or maybe I'm doing really well and actually have a chance to win. And I've won it a couple times, but few and far between. It is pretty unforgiving for the most part, but most horror films are unforgiving to the final girl. And I just love the variety. There's so much to do. I've got sets 1 through 3. Set 4 just came out. I haven't put much in. I don't really have the money to spend on it. Van Ryder Games, if you happen to watch this, I would love to have Series 4 in my collection. I just can't afford it right now. I've got plenty to mix and match to keep me occupied, so I'm not going to miss not having it. That's for sure. I've got plenty of mix and match combatastic Final Girl action on my shelf. So still really enjoy it. My favorite solo only game, Final Girl. At number 12, in jumping 6 places based on absolutely nothing that I can think of, is my favorite Garfield game, Raiders of the North Sea. And Raiders of the North Sea is a worker placement Viking conquest game where you're basically placing your workers to get goods and Vikings that you're going to then send out to raid and pillage to bring back loot and better workers to place in some of the spots. And the cool thing about this game is the workers that you place aren't your workers. I mean, they are when you place them, but once you drop them down, they're not yours anymore because they're communal workers. Every turn, you're going to place a worker and take that action, and then remove a worker from a different location and take that action. And the workers come in 3 different colors. Some workers can only go to certain spots. Some workers can go to all the spots. And based on the color of the worker, some of the spots give you a different thing. So maybe if I've got a black worker at this spot, I get 1 coin, but if it's a white worker, I get 3. I don't remember. Don't quote me on the exact spots, and only the white worker can, turn in the town hall or whatever it is, turn in the goods for the quest, I think. And you're recruiting Vikings into your ship, and they're going to add to your combat power because the further out you go raid, the more combat power you're going to want in order to be successful. And the more successful you are, the more points you're going to get. And eventually, you're going to kill off some of your people. But that's okay, because there's a Valkyrie track. And if you get more points, the higher up the Valkyrie track you are. So maybe you just want to go out and get your guys killed and get all those Valkyrie track points. I just really enjoy Raiders of the North Sea. It's a pretty easy game to teach and play to people who are new to gaming and really get them into what worker placement can be while still having some of that Marathrash of going out and just looting a village and taking all the goods that are there. I really enjoy Raiders of the North Sea, still my favorite of the Garfield games, and right there at number 12. Finishing out this list with number 11. It was number 10 last year, and it was off the list the year before, I think. This is the one somehow slipped through the cracks that one year. But Keyflower, I really enjoyed this one. I didn't play it at all this past year, but it's still there fresh in my mind. My buddy owns it. Hopefully I can get back to this place and play it again. But in Keyflower, it's a game where you're kind of building up your little town area of placements, where you're going to grow and move your resources around to score points based on what you have where, and opponents can come use your spots too. And the cool thing about Keyflower is there's 3 or 4 different colored meeples, and the color of the meeple is going to be locked in on every tile, whether it's a tile on somebody's player board where they placed one meeple to do the action once, and then maybe I placed two meeples to do the action, because once there's meeples in play, in order to go to that spot, you've got to outnumber what's there, and then it gets locked out after 3, I think it is, or maybe 4. And that's the same for every round when you're bidding on the tiles, because every round new tiles are going to come out, and you can bid to add those tiles to your section, or you can just play on them to do what the tile does in the first place. But if somebody plays a red meeple somewhere on that tile, then you can only place red meeples there. So you need to remember what everybody has, because whatever meeples are on your village at the end of every round, you get, whether they were your meeples to start with or not. They're yours now, and then you're going to draw more out of the bag as well every round. And it's just such a fun game of kind of worker placement, kind of bidding, using meeples for your village that you're building, and you're scoring points based on what's in your village, what you're producing in your village, and how it's meeting some of those in-game objectives. I just really enjoy playing Keyflower. It's a lot of fun. Really good game. My number 11. And that is this section of the list. So we're finally done with all the bad games. You can join me next week where we talk about a couple of good games finally, with my top 10 coming out in celebration of my 4-year anniversary of the channel. I really hope to see you there. I hope if you like this one, you give me a thumbs up. I could really use any kind of look in the algorithm. And of course, comment below some of your favorite games, your thoughts on my favorite games, and what do you think is upcoming if you haven't seen my previous years, because I think they're all pretty much similar games in similar places. I don't think there's anything new that cracked my top 10. Maybe some games that were just outside the top 10 have risen into it, but nothing brand new in my top 10. So it is very much going to be all my favorite games that have been in and around my top 10 for the last few years. But in what order? That's why you need to stick around and come back and celebrate 4 years of YouTube with me as we talk about my top 10 favorite games of all time on February 28th of 2026. I'll see you next time. Bye.